Hi everyone, this is Sunny and welcome back to my channel if you're not new or if you are, hi. So I have 5 piles for you guys to choose from left to right. I have pile 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So stop the video if you feel like you need more time to contemplate on the cards, you know the gist, read out your energies, feel out your energies, I'm sorry. And I'll skip to the timestamp when you're ready. The question, in case you didn't see the title very well, is if you have a crush on an influencer, would they like you, So that's the gist. I'm gonna start with the first pile. I think I poorly worded that, but I might change the title a bit because I tend to record first before I obviously write the title. So for the first one, you guys have the Four of Wands reversed. So this is a no. They would not like you. I think they have their own not that they like being alone, but it feels more like they have their own security from within. I don't think they necessarily rely on this influencer, doesn't necessarily feel like they have to rely on somebody else. It feels more like that's how they're wording it, where they have to rely on somebody else to feel like they're at home. It feels like home is from within, home is wherever their heart is, and that's not going to be placed on somebody else. So they're not looking at that, that aspect. So this is a no for them. I think they just genuinely like to, keep to themselves, be by themselves. Not that they don't like to have connections, but it doesn't feel like they are very feely persons. Like they just, it feels like they're very guarded to me, and they like their space. They like their personal space, and they kind of like to be constantly on the move. So providing us like a stable home is not something they want, at least not right now. So that's how this person feels. Pile number 1. Take what resonates, right? But it does feel like this person's kind of always on the go. They like that constant change. It feels like they maybe like to travel. So that's what it feels like. This person's constantly traveling and moving around and doing things that it doesn't feel like there's someone who's gonna focus and just be on one place being stagnant. That's not gonna make them happy. That doesn't provide them happiness. That happiness comes from within. Their happiness comes from whatever choices they decide to make on the spot. So that's what I feel. They would not necessarily like you because of that, like in that love connection, because I think you're trying to actually, form that connection, that bond, and they're just like, no, that's not happening. So thanks pile number 1. I'm sorry, but that's what it is. Pile number 2, you have the Star upright. So I could see them seeing you as a potential like connection. Pile number 2, they could possibly like you. But again, it does feel like there's someone who has to kind of take center stage. So if you're okay with that, they could possibly be okay with forming that connection. But again, they have to be the entertainer. They have to be the shiny star. So you have to be okay with the fact that they're always going to be in the spotlight. Maybe not like super A-list kind of celebrity, but they're going to be on the spotlight, sorry. So they're going to be in cameras. They're going to be constantly not being recorded, but someone that's going to be constantly in that type of scenario where it's public space. And if you're okay with that, sure, it could possibly, form a valid connection to them. But it does feel like you're going to have to deal with a lot of the fact that their creativity comes first. They're not going to put you specifically first because they have to put their needs first. It's like they finally got to that space and they want to stick in that place because it took them a lot of work to finally be creative. So it feels like this influencer really likes that lifestyle, and if you're okay with that, sure, it can be worked with. But again, not everybody wants that. Some people want I think sometimes people think that just because they get with someone that's well famous, they will choose them at the end of the day, and they will turn their back on that. But it's because the spotlight's addictive to people, or the spotlight's where they get their bread. They get paid, and you have to realize that sometimes things don't work the way you want them to. But if your work is being in the spotlight, you're gonna put that first because that's what's being, that's what's your stable income, right? So you have to understand that, and maybe it could work, but their work comes first, by the way, number 2. So do take that with a grain of salt in case you think that their emotions would be something they put first. It feels like maybe they can milk the relationship and it's gonna get them more views or more publicity, but take what resonates. Pile number 3, you guys have the Two of Cups upright. So I do think this person is more open to having a stable connection. Pile number 3, I think I think the specific person influencer you're thinking about is, well, one, they could either be in a connection, or they're forming a connection, or they could possibly, be, it feels like maybe this person's already taken, but, if in the make-believe scenario where they were not taken, it does feel like this person could give you a chance because I think they give love a chance right now. I think they're very open in that heart space, and they're happy because they kind of are exploring their options, or at least if they're not with somebody, they're exploring their options and they're finally meeting someone that's kind of worth it. So if you are interested in this person, would they like you? Sure. But again, it's what you bring to the table, how you make this person feel, how this person makes you feel, because there could be a very different person and a dynamic from cameras. Like, once the cameras are off, people change, right? So that's not new. That's actually pretty good. You don't want to date the person you're seeing on TV because that's a persona. That's the entertainer. The person from behind the scenes is very different. It's like they finally get to switch that entertainment person off and show their true colors. It's like, oh, finally I get to just go watch TV and like sit on the couch and just be a couch potato. And they finally get to kind of shut up. They just like the quietness. That's what it feels like. So yeah, this person is wanting to actually form a connection with somebody that's valuable. And if this person, in the scenario, would likely take you into consideration to form that bond, because I think you could possibly give that to them, but it can also become a very codependent if it's not well received, but like if it's not well established, those boundaries of like, hey, I do this, you do this. We kind of need to be our own persons before getting to know each other that well, or like we kind of have our own thing going on, so we don't really rely on each other, right? So that like emotional support, like try not to be each other's emotional support buddies, because it's good to support people, but it's good to also not be dependent on them all the time, because you should depend on yourself. They're like, not trying to say there should always be independence, but you're a separate entity from the union itself, right? Same with this person. So take what resonates, right? But it does feel like this is a possible love connection, and you and this person would be open to that idea of establishing a connection, and they would be happy, and I think you would too. But that can easily be replaced with like more dependency on each other than anybody else, and just kind of focusing on the relationship more than the actual needs of yourselves and what you actually need to do day by day. So take that with a grain of salt, but because this is like one of those make-believe scenarios, but it does feel like you would have to always balance yourselves out to not fall into that trap. There you go. So I hope that helped. Pile number 3. I think I took too long on that one. And pile number 4. You guys have, if I said the wrong number, I'm sorry. I'll correct that on the description. Pile number 4, you have the Knight of Pentacles upright. So this is a yes. They could see you as a possible love connection. I think you're the person here who's trying to kind of reach out to them, like, look, this is my love for you. Like, I love you. It feels like you have that message out for them that you would, whether this person would accept it, it's something else, because I don't think this person's giving me this energy right now. But it feels for me that you're the person that's reaching out to show them a gift of gratitude or gift of appreciation. Maybe you want to, sorry, I'm going to drink some water because my throat's terrible. Maybe you want to take him out for a drink or coffee. Maybe you want to take him on a date. Sorry. My throat does that a lot. Maybe you want to take him out on a coffee date or a movie date or an actual date. It just feels like you want to show like a little gesture, not like a big gesture. It doesn't feel like that because this is Pentacle energy. Not trying to say Pentacle energy is stingy, but you don't want to scare them off. Or you want to make them feel comfortable. There you go. Pentacle energy is someone who's wanting to make them feel comfortable, at ease, but somehow still feel appreciated because they're showing up, right? They're showing up with a little gesture, a little gift. So that's what it feels like. Maybe you give them roses or a box of chocolates. I'm thinking of Forrest Gump. Life is a box of chocolates. But it does feel like you're someone who would be wanting to give them a little gift, whether they accept it or not, because everybody has a different way of expressing themselves and how they appreciate love. That token of love, how they give that token of love and give it out and receive it is subjective. Even on your day-to-day relationships and connections, like what you want with your friend, how they like to be gifted things and how they feel appreciated is very different from a different friend, right? Sometimes people like to feel, and they like, oh, I like the girly things, like maybe jewelry, or I like gift cards, things like that. And then your other friend can be like, well, I like more practical things that are going to be useful to me, like coffee filters or a little pan, things like that. That's like, okay, very different tastes, but none of them are wrong. So it feels like that to me. So like, take what resonates, but your appreciation is more or less like that. It's like, I want to show them that I appreciate them. Or maybe you buy their merchandise and you're like, look, I got your little cups, or I got your sweater, I support your business and I support the local business and stuff like that. Or maybe they sell coffee, like coffee beans or something. I think so many influencers nowadays are selling coffee beans. And I literally always think that people sell sweaters and t-shirts most of the time anyways. But I also think it's because they have to kind of invest back into them, right? So it's an interesting business. I always found that fascinating. But it's more or less some of those things that are like that. It's like, oh, look, I did this for you. Or I bought your headbands. I bought your jewelry or your nails or your stickers. Or I bought your pants. I don't know if people sell pants. I think they do. I think they sell sweatpants or something. Sneakers, things like that. They're like, look, I support you. And they might appreciate it, I think. I think they would never be rude to a fan, I think. But again, as this person would receive it, I mean, I don't know. Let me take out a card just in case. I'm kind of curious. Would they accept pile number 4? Interesting. They have the Knight of Cups upright. So yes, I think they would feel it's interesting. Wow. Why did I get that? That's so odd. I wanted them to make them quick, but it took too long. It is what it is. But yes, I think they would appreciate it and they would receive it as a compliment. You are the Knight of Pentacles and this is the Knight of Cups. That's them. So interesting. Very different dynamic. Different ways of receiving, but I think they would feel very appreciated. They would feel like their heart space is not fulfilled, but oh, I feel like love and tender. I feel appreciated. I feel cared for. That's how it feels like, and they would appreciate the message. But I also think they would have a message for you. So there's it feels like an exchange of you're giving the pentacle and this person's giving the cup. So it's maybe different forms. Like I said earlier, I don't know why I was channeling that, but I think you guys have different forms of, I forgot there's a word people classify, but it's different classifications of love, affection, and giving and receiving. Not that it could be a miscommunication. There could be some miscommunication, but it feels more like you guys have different ways of appreciation and giving and receiving, and of love, different forms of love, but more or less the gestures there. But yes, they would feel very happy, pile number 4. They would appreciate it, but yes, I do think they would be open to this connection. But I just feel like you would take your time and steps. It feels like it's a slow burner connection if it ever came true in this scenario, right? So do take what resonates, but yeah, you and them would take their time, mostly because you want that love to mature and grow. It doesn't feel like it feels like it's very green, and it's maybe you're out of your element in a way where it's I haven't done this in a while, it's not my thing. But I remember more or less the gist of how things happen, how you can show interest in people, and this person's the same. It's you guys maybe are workaholics, or you're just working on your creative projects and you're just not looking at that, and finally have the space to have that love connection. So it's kind of still green in you, if that makes sense. So I hope that helped pile number 4. Last but not least, I have pile number 5. I'm sorry it took so long, pile number 4 and 5. You guys have the 4 of Cups reversed, so this isn't it does feel like this person could be already in a connection, or it feels like they're so used to receiving their cups from people. It's maybe they feel like they're always love bombed, but they don't really feel like they're genuinely appreciated as people. they are appreciated as entertainers and public space figures, as their influencers. I don't really like the term much. I like it, but I don't, because I think people misuse it for people who are frivolous or like superficial, but it's not always the case. People always have good intentions sometimes. When they're in a public space, they also do good things for people, so it's not always negative. But it does feel like this person may be love bombed frequently, that they just kind of like, whatever, like, okay, I don't think you like me for me, but and it also can be where they're kind of keeping to themselves, or they're not open to receiving right now. Although personally, I feel like they are, because it's reversed. It feels like, one, they're kind of just giving that cup to themselves constantly, like self-love. Maybe they could be on ego trips. I'm not saying they're narcissistic, but they constantly kind of want to like receive that to themselves and just give it back. Not so much to other people, but just kind of, it feeds me. Or it could be someone who is open to that connection, even though this is a no, but not towards you. It feels like they're open to somebody else. It feels like they have their eye on someone else. Pile number 5. And that's what it feels like for some scenarios. So it feels like they have their eye on somebody else, but people don't know. It's like they keep that to themselves. So I don't feel their heart space is open necessarily for public. It feels like they protect that very dearly, because they know that people would destroy that. They would tear that apart. They're not very good with the fan bases in that aspect, because I think sometimes the fan bases are not very respectful, and I wish that would change. Their celebrity or their influencer, that person that's like in the spotlight, they're not very respectful that people are still people. It's very terrible. People that are in the spotlight or in the public space are still people who want their privacy, and they're not open. They put certain things out there because they're okay with that, but that personal boundary is not respected. They're like stuck, basically, right? So it feels like there's someone who's very protective of that, and they don't want to scare the person that's potentially interested in, like, there could be interest in it. So they make sure that they don't scare them off by like putting that out there. Like, they try to cover their clues as best as they can. But I think people sometimes pick up on it. But some people are very respectful. Some fan bases, or some people that are in their support group and stuff, like, who support their artists and stuff like that, they really appreciate, I'm sorry if that messed up, they really appreciate that they respect them, because they know what it's like. They know that they're mature enough to kind of know that the difference of this is public knowledge or this isn't public knowledge, or they want to put that out there, they want to reserve that for themselves. So it does feel like maybe they would likely reject you. They would not be interested in that. They wouldn't treat you rudely, but they would be like, okay, thank you, but I'm not interested. I hope you understand. They would put up that boundary, but it does feel like there's someone who's open to having a love connection, but just not with you. It's like maybe they're looking at somewhere, but they're kind of just hiding away for that aspect of like not wanting to scare them off or putting them in danger, things like that, Sorry. So do take what resonates, pile number 5. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was pretty quick. I think it was not quick. I took longer than I thought, so I'm sorry. But thank y'all for watching. Have a lovely day. And you're more than welcome to select a different video if you want to. I have many videos. They don't always have to be love-related videos, but I have a bunch little quickie videos. And have a lovely day in case you did not have that, or if you did, great. But if you didn't, make your best of it, right? There's good times in the day, there's bad time, but try to focus on the good stuff, because that can change your perspective. So I hope that helped, and you guys have a lovely day, and bye-bye.